Rio Tinto has sacked Stern Hu and the three other Chinese executives found guilty in a Shanghai court today of accepting bribes and stealing commercial secrets. Stern Hu was given two sentences of 5 and 7 years and will serve a combined 10 years in jail. His three Chinese colleagues were given sentences ranging from 7 to 14 years. The Australian government has said it accepts the verdict but describes the sentence as harsh. China correspondent Stephen McDonald watched as the verdict was handed down.
It was widely expected that the four Rio Tinto executives would not get very much jail time because they'd made certain admissions in court. But Australian Stern Hu has received a whopping 10-year jail term. His three colleagues are also joining him in prison. Liu Tsaikui got 7 years, Guoming Chang 8 and Wang Yong 14 years in jail.
In the case of all four of the persons sentenced today, the sentences will start from the 5th of July 2009, which I understand was the date on which they were initially detained.
Finally, we were allowed inside the court today and we heard the judge blame the Rio Tinto team for the collapse of the 2009 iron ore price negotiations. He said that Rio Tinto had seriously damaged the competitive interests of Chinese steel companies. The Australian government had promised a considered response to the whole trial process once the verdicts were handed down. And tonight, Foreign Minister Stephen Smith spoke to the ABC.
I've made it clear on the bribery conviction that Australian officials were in the room at the time. My advice is that there was considerable evidence leading on its face to the conclusion that bribery acts had occurred. But I do believe the sentence there is harsh, certainly harsh by Australian standards. The difficulty comes, and you asked the question about transparency, the difficulty comes with the second charge, the commercial secrets to which our officials were not given access. That's very regrettable, and that leaves, I think, a series of unanswered questions, not just for Australia but for the international business community.
This lack of transparency creates uncertainty for Australian people and Australian businesses in China, and we do call on the Australian government to clarify with the Chinese authorities as soon as possible what information gives rise to a charge of commercial secrets in China.
Mining giant Rio Tinto, the company that employed these four men, also released a statement tonight.
Receiving bribes is a clear violation of Chinese law and Rio Tinto's code of conduct, the way we work. We have been informed of the clear evidence presented in court that showed beyond doubt that the four convicted employees had accepted bribes. By doing this, they engaged in deplorable behaviour that is totally at odds with our strong ethical culture. In accordance with our policies, we will terminate their employment.
Tonight, Stern Hu and his three colleagues left the court in separate prison vans in a convoy which was presumably heading to jail. They have 10 days in which to lodge their appeal, starting from tomorrow. Stephen McDonald, Lateline.